Sup gamers, Rainy Potato here with the best builds for the Flagellant in Darkest Dungeon 2. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to subscribe. I post new videos every day. The Flagellant is a unique blight-based hero who acts primarily as a healer, tank, and utility character, but can also provide DPS in the right situation. Let's cover a few unique mechanics first before moving on to builds. The Flagellant has no meltdown or resolute status. When he reaches 10 stress, he will always become toxic, and on all paths but Scourge, he will then apply blight to any attacker, furthering his tank cred, while also lowering his DBR by 10, clearing skill cooldowns, setting his HP to 30, and losing 2 affinity pips with each hero. Scourge Toxic will add +1 blight to attacks, lose the 2 affinity pips, while setting HP to 45%. The Flagellant also has a mini-boss, Death, who follows him around and will occasionally pop up immediately after the end of a resistant encounter, being a dangerous challenge after you've already fought, but also giving you unique trinkets. We'll cover the Death fight mechanics in another video. Wanderer is of course the base path, but for Flagellant it's actually a reasonable choice. Like all Flagellant builds, Wanderer is based around playing with your HP and the various thresholds. The core tank skill for the Flagellant is More, which gives him a couple taunt and will give him a pain token with each tick of damage he takes, and will heal him 10%, 15% when mastered, HP at the end of his next turn. The pain stacks to 3, allowing you a 45% heal if mastered and utilized correctly. This is often combined with Deathless, which cuts your own HP to heal another hero with no threshold, while you negate the Deathless HP with your more recovery. This build, if played correctly, is often near invulnerable, as your average enemy can't kill you before your next turn unless you're dangerously low already. To round out the tank Wanderer kit, I'll keep Punish or Acid as my damage, depending on whether you want back or front row damage, and with upgraded More, this technically acts as a heal if you don't already have max pain stacks. Another way to play with Deathless is to use it first to cut your HP, allowing you to use Sepsis as a big heal in Blight attack. Lash's Gift is another under 50% HP payoff, giving you a smaller heal but giving a strength and block plus token to an ally, useful for direct damage DPS allies of course. Endure is a slow and crappy stress heal for the most part. You don't want to be toxic in most cases because of the affinity loss. Forcing self-toxic is really only a thing in boss battles, so this is only an equip for me in the mountain to try and manipulate stress. Fester and Suffer aren't good enough to get on my bar in most cases, and Undying is only usable if you have a very low HP hero like the Alchemist around, where it gets better value than Deathless if you can stall. Necrosis is only an equip in a blight-based comp, but for those builds you want another path mostly. So Punish, Deathless, More, Sepsis, and Lash's Gift are my standard bar. This is almost always a rank 2 exclusive hero, because in rank 1 he loses Lash's Gift. This hero can be played in 2 ways. The More build, you generally want him to be your dedicated tank, to get full advantage of pain. He can replace a healer as well as your tank, allowing you to play without the meta duo Man-at-Arms and Plague Doctor, though you'll want him with Jester for stress, and I like Plague Doctor with him in every comp always. He's best paired up with front row direct damage to take advantage of Lash's Gift and cover his obvious weakness. For mastery, obviously More is your core upgrade. Sepsis and Deathless are also major upgrades. Ideally you get these all by N2. Lash's Gift is okay, and Punish is irrelevant for the most part. For trinkets, Misstep is the holy grail. Giving him more HP to play with is always good, though you do miss a bit of damage. Blight trinkets are quite good as well, and you're okay in the Fetter because Flag isn't your damage hero anyways. His essentially infinite tank heal loop, along with lack of thresholds, make him a pretty elite tank against any Laranac boss, even if he does no damage. Act 2 is shaky because he only has taunt every other turn, and Act 3 can be bad because he lacks any block generation, which means you often get one tapped before healing yourself, and at that point you're just praying for DBR. Never a solid foundation for a run. Maniac is quite similar to Wanderer, just more focused on debuffs and general disruption, and features no mandatory thresholds for any of your moves to work. I keep the exact same build for my Maniac for the most part, only 3 skills change how they function. Punish is now a knockback, making it much better than on Wanderer, though it now really likes an upgrade. Acid Rain is an AoE weak and chance of combo an upgrade, so it's also a consideration in certain scenarios, most notably late Tangle where the damage is fierce. Sepsis is now a big self-heal usable with any negative tokens active or under 50% HP, allowing you to transfer all your current negative tokens to an enemy. And Lash's Gift is now a self-heal that will transfer all tokens from an ally to yourself including combo and upgrade. This play is very similar to Wanderer, you just lose a decent bit of damage with the Sepsis and Lash's gift changes. The negative token transfer system is quite interesting and in the right scenario can be absolutely incredible, though it's a bit niche currently. You're still a rank 2 hero, and you want to be the primary tank because the more and more Deathless loop is still your bread and butter, though Punish is incorporated more in a number of fights where knockback is important. This time I believe damage is even more important to incorporate in order to make up for Maniac's lack. The trinkets and mastery priority is the same, though Sepsis and Lash's gift are less relevant in most scenarios, with combo transfer being the only major change. Against the right boss, this is an elite path, offering you the same invincibility tank loop, but this time being able to give bosses, some of whom pummel you with negative tokens, a taste of their own medicine. I never build around this for the most part, however, since the cooldown and use limits are a bit restrictive for this otherwise exciting path. Scourge and Exanimate are both blight-focused builds, with very slight variations to their kits and a nerf to Lash's gift. Scourge does not require an HP threshold for Sepsis, has no use limit, and keeps his blight intact on combo, making him more reliable for blight damage, while the Exanimate is all about playing at thresholds, gaining strength in his attacks if below 50% HP. Scourge is the better path. Obviously you're building around Sepsis, so that goes on the bar. Deathless is changed on this path, making it a self and ally heal under 50% with a use limit, and it's quite strong, so I slap it on as well. Necrosis gets play here since you're only running Scourge as part of a blight build, so it gets good play as an AoE and self-heal. More and more I usually drop as it doesn't synergize as well with Deathless, and Scourge is more of a damage path. Generally I'll pick up both Punish and Acid Rain as my final skills to further my Sepsis and Necrosis game. The rest of the skills remain irrelevant, especially Lash's gift, which is nerfed here. This is again a rank 2 only build, this time to accommodate Necrosis. This is also a blight-based build, meaning a Plague Doctor is mandatory, and often a Grave Robber as well for the ideal. Since we're not running more and we are running Fragile Alchemist and Grave Robber in back, we need a tank, and it has to be Man-at-Arms for the stress heal, being for pretty restrictive team building, though the path I think is worth it, and you can swap out Grave Robber if you feel like it. For Mastery, of course, Sepsis is your big upgrade, doubling in damage, but it's not necessary until you feel it's time to tackle bosses. Deathless is massive on paper, but often not necessary, and the same goes for the rest of the skills. You definitely want your allies' blight attacks upgraded first. For trinkets, since this path can actually do damage between Necrosis and Punish, I'll generally skip Misstep, but slap on any HP and even damage can work, and blight trinkets become somewhat relevant, though the setup does struggle somewhat in the fetter with the blight resist. Between the range, healing, and big Sepsis potential, this is a quite potent build against all air bosses, though Harvest Child blight resist can be problematic, and a powerhouse against the Act bosses, only really struggling against Act 2 because of the lack of direct damage. Exanimate is very similar to Scourge, except you get a slight boost to Punish and Acid Rain at below 50% HP. Deathless is normal and Sepsis is only usable below 50% HP. Sepsis and Necrosis are again ideal, as you only run this build with a Blight team. If you're running Exanimate, you probably want both Punish and Acid Rain to benefit, though you can get rid of one, usually Rain since Punish has better reach on Exanimate. It is possible to run more in Deathless again since Deathless is normal, though this isn't really the ideal path to run that game. You have other stuff to do. Lash's gift is cute, but even on flag, playing with HP under 20% is pretty stupid, and the benefits aren't enough. Often I'll just skip Deathless on this path since it doesn't entirely fit the concept. This leaves room for something else on your bar, like Fester, I suppose. The team you want is essentially identical to Scourge, since they mostly play the same game with Blight, Sepsis, and Necrosis. For trinkets, you can focus a bit more on obtaining Blight, since that's the only real draw of this path. It also plays the same against all the bosses, though you lose the heal aspect altogether, essentially without the Deathless. I rarely if ever find a use for this path. It plays like Scourge, but is objectively worse, and can't match Maniac or Wanderer in the standard flag style. Overall, the flag is a fun, elite healer, with a ton of different roles which can break you out of the meta comps, though flag is quickly becoming the meta himself. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to subscribe. I post new videos every day.